Cortland Simmons with you here at the CS Racing Report, and we're recapping the 35th Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships from Churchill Downs, the home of the historic Kentucky Oaks and the iconic Run for the Roses we all know as the Kentucky Derby. And we're going to recap day one. Day one was a very, very interesting and intriguing and spine-tingling display of juvenile talent. All 2-year-old races, 5 Grade 1 events for $1 million at minimum, ranging from 5.5 furlongs to 8.5 furlongs, a mile and a 16th. And we're going to start off with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, the inaugural running of this 5.5 furlong race. And the first winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint is from the TODD PLETCHER barn. His name is Bulletin. He is the first horse in the history of the Breeders' Cup to win an event on championship day with only one previous start. Jerry Bailey joked a few years back that Todd Pletcher or Bob Baffert would run a horse in the Breeders' Cup as an unstarted maiden, and Bulletin almost fit the bill. He won it by 3 lengths in an impressive time over the yielding going in 105.54 over Chelsea Cloisters out of the Wesley Ward barn, one of 4 fillies he had initially entered. Shang was scratched, so he had 3 in there. She finished second. The others didn't run so well. So Perfect from the Aidan O'Brien barn, another filly, finished 3rd. And Queen of Bermuda was 4th. So the fillies definitely did well in the 2 and 3 spots. Bulletin, a very, very impressive horse. People are going to be very curious to see whether he will stretch out or he's going to be a horse that will sort of stay in one-turn type of races. That's going to be, but that's the intriguing part of juveniles. What will Todd Pletcher, and for that matter, any trainer of a top horse do? But he was very, very impressive in winning this race. He shot to the lead, something that's very important to establish position in a race in which there is less time to make a mistake, and quick decisions have to be made, and the split decision certainly was put forth in motion when he broke out of the gates, and he never relinquished the lead and just spurted away in deep stretch. So he was very, very impressive. We'll see if he can be as effective when they go further, if they choose to do so. So Bulletin is your first juvenile turf sprint winner. Very, very interesting race. And when you look at some of the other disappointments in there, Strike Silver was a horse that I picked in this race off that stunning last to first finish in nipping Chelsea Cloisters in the first Indian Summer Stakes at Keeneland. He was a byproduct of a horse coming from Lexington and not running so well in the Breeders' Cup. It's kind of a common theme, whether it's a Churchill Downs hosted event with the short commute or any other venue that's hosted the Breeders' Cup. And it seems like a lot of times horses don't run so well. We'll talk a little bit more about Keeneland form to Breeders' Cup form as we move forward. But Strike Silver, was pressing the pace in the early going, and on that yielding turf, which had been taking in a lot of rain, almost 2 days worth of really, really heavy rain, the course was still soft, and it just wasn't, in the minds of many. I think people were surprised to see him that close to the lead. Granted, you want to have good position and be forwardly placed in a race that happens in the blink of an eye at 5.5 furlongs, but it left him with 0 finish. He finished 7th, did not run well. Another horse in here, Soldier's Call, the favorite, he was 6th. So a lot of the favorites, Aidan O'Brien, Sergei Prokofiev, ran 8th. So they were just non-factors. They were just something they had their horseshoes run off by Bulletin in here. He was very, very impressive, and so I think a lot of people are going to certainly have a lot of there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on him as to how much how far he goes and what his future will hold. So once again, Bulletin wins